It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're using the rumor mill to break down the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Mike.
Do you think the rumor mill makes whole sprouted grains for their rumor bread? Because it's the start of a new year. It's January. I'm on a cleanse.
I think it depends. I'm more of a sourdough fan myself. I don't know what kind of grain that takes, so we'll have to dive into this whole bread making fiasco.
Only the sourest rumers on the Superhero Slate.
Exactly. Well, we don't have a lot for DC, so I think we'll actually be in some okay territory today. It is time for Kang and a new Ant-Man trailer. We talked about this last week, dropping on Monday, and Lord did it drop on Monday. The Mandalorian could feature the return of Last Jedi characters. How's that work? That's in the future. And more.
Oh my god! My brain was wrinkling when you said that, because we all know how I struggle very difficultly with the Star Wars timeline.
Oh yeah.
And also, we have so many Star Wars movies, they're all starting to kind of sound the same too. Like The Last, Return, Revenge. It's just, I can't keep track of it anymore.
Oh yeah.
It's at least The Empire Strikes Back. It has I feel like it has a different at least cadence to the title. I can always keep track of that one. And every time I think of it, I always instantly think Hoth. And Hoth is only I don't even think it's the first act. I think the first act is still going after they leave Hoth.
Well, I'd say it's a good first. It's a good first act. Get some going and
yeah.
But
this is my way of saying one of the many ways you could fix Star Wars movies is just pick better titles.
And I would say episode 8, but I'm like, where the hell is 8 in this timeline? I would have to, because we got them 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. 7, 8, 9. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, we're hitting this late Sunday night. You're lucky to have tomorrow off, and a lot of people probably are either listening to us on Monday or Tuesday, and I don't, so I have to make this record tonight. So I apologize for that, Mike. But yeah, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? We haven't really talked much this weekend.
Yeah, well, since we're finally out of kind of the holiday movie season, I feel like I've made a hard left turn and I've watched the antithesis, and that is Christmas holiday fair. And I watched a movie that I actually had to have you track down for me. Usually I kind of obfuscate sometimes where I find some of my pieces of media, but no, I'll straight up say Chris pirated this for me because it was on Shudder / IFC something, IFC Midnight, some sort of moniker that they have over there at that channel. I don't know how to get that. I don't know where that comes from. I'm not a horror movie aficionado that keeps track of the horror streaming services, but there's a film called Mad God that I wanted to watch that came out last year because it keeps popping up in the conversations with all of the best feature animated movies of the year. And partly this was popping up because it was just there's not a lot of feature animated movies that come out in a calendar year, right? So whenever you get something off the beaten path of a Pixar or a DreamWorks or a Disney, usually gets people a little excited. So this movie is called Mad God, and it is made from a veteran visual effects supervisor or director, whatever you call him.
You're gonna know this guy because I'm gonna tell you he did all the dinosaur wrangling, or whatever they call him, dinosaur supervising in Jurassic Park. Phil Tippett, right? That's how I remember him. He was, because there's a meme you had one job, Phil, and it was to watch the dinosaurs, but literally he did all the animation and stop motion and help with the CGI for Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, and I believe he also worked on the original Star Wars trilogy, to call back to just a couple minutes ago. So this dude is a veteran. He's all up in it. And this film, what I learned after kind of researching it a little bit, this was his passion project. Apparently he had been working on this for 30 years. And I guess he has some sort of a class or academy or something where he would bring in students and he would have them work on different parts of the film, to practice their stop motion skills. So this film has been in the making for a while, and you can tell when you watch it is a craft and a love, and from one very specific vision from a very talented person. And this movie will take you on a journey. I did not know what I was getting into when I hit play on Mad God, and I had to break it up into a couple different chunks because it's a dense film. And I was, like I said, watching it right off of your Plex server, so thank you very much. That was very convenient.
I believe you asked when we were sitting for dinner for Christmas, and you're like, can you find this? I'm like, I already got it. And then by the time we left, it was already downloaded. So I was pretty happy to show that off.
Magical voodoo on your phone.
I'm a mad god in terms of the internet.
Exactly, I must say. But so from the positive side of this film, it is just an absolutely labor of love. You can tell like every frame, every panel is painstakingly, just thought through. The visuals are extremely striking because not only are you getting like stop motion, I would dare to say it's more like mixed media, because you'll get moments where they'll bring in real life actors and kind of alter their frame rates a little bit, not to convince you that they're stop motion. It's not like they're trying to cheat, but more kind of like fit them within the world that's been like built around them, that they've been superimposed inside of. And there's like this daring kind of decision to not have like any dialogue in this film. So it kind of gives you those Mad Max Fury Road vibes where it's just like all motion, all cinema. You really have to like watch this one to take it all in. And it's fascinating. It'll keep your attention, but on the other side of the coin, it'll keep your attention in the grossest way. This movie is like the most disgusting, grossest thing I've ever seen. And like, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm comparing it to some sort of like grindhouse, like Saw, Hostel, like gore horror film. It's not quite like that. It's just Phil Tippett has just dreamed up this just disgusting, like sewagey, like filthy underground, like hellscape world where there's like these gross little creatures that are all like wet and dripping, and there's like feces and like vomit. Yeah. Like I'm sorry to start the podcast out. Like there's just no other way to quite describe it. It
kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Cronenberg kind of esque look to everything. When I watched I skimmed through the movie, like there's this big thing. It's a big blob monster. It looks like the Thing because it has like human teeth, but it's not like a human creature. And like you said, it's got that, like you said, that wet feel, right? Because it's real. There's actual light glistening off the stop motion in this. Yeah. So it's kind of I don't know, grimy, if you will.
Yeah, it's extremely grimy. Some scenes linger a little too long. This is kind of one of those things where it's like the creative term of like kill your babies, which is hilarious because there's literally kind of like versions of children being killed in this movie. Like they're stop motion like little monsters, but they're coded as babies, if you will. But like there's an opening shot where you have like your main character, if you could even stretch to connect this to a normal narrative, right? Where your main character is like descending on this really, really long elevator into like hell, I suppose. But the shot just goes on forever and ever and ever because like they've painstakingly crafted all these sets. But I was just like, I literally timed it. It was like 10 minutes of this elevator descending, and I'm not even lying. And I was like, okay, I think maybe we could have chopped this down a little bit. And there's some like stop motion animated moments that are like not necessarily put on a loop, but you can tell that they're just looping through it a couple of times, just, kind of like to fill the scene a little bit. But when the movie started, you see this title come up that says IFC Midnight. So I kept thinking of this in the context of like, what if I was like a teenager back in the day, flipping through my cable channels, like literally at midnight on IFC to see what this thing called Mad God is. Just like, my parents are asleep, my brother's on the other side of the house, locked in his bedroom, and I'm just like, what is this? This is like, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep the whole night after that. So yeah, this is like an experience that I could not in my right mind recommend to just anybody. You really have to like dedicate yourself to want to watch something like this. But it is weird. It is freaky. This narrative is so untraditional. I don't even really know what happened at the end of the movie. Like, I might have a guess, but I went on YouTube to try to even find explainers for, like, Mad God, ending explained. Like, that's usually what people do, like, when they can't figure out Inception. But, like, I can't figure out what Mad God was, and I couldn't find anyone who could really explain it to me. So I'm just here living with what I watched in Mad God. So yeah, if you have a friend out there who has a Plex server with Mad God on it, or if somehow you have Shudder built into a cable package or a streaming service, you can go check out. It is weird, man. It's I'll leave it at that. It's freaky.
Yeah.
But I watched something slightly more traditional last week as well, a Hulu original miniseries that's based off of a book that came out not long ago called Fleischman's in Trouble. And I can only technically bring this one up on the podcast because it stars Jesse Eisenberg, which we can tie it back to being some sort of version of a Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman. It was never really clear to me, actually, now that I think back to it. Was he supposed to be like the Lex Luthor?
Oh, yeah.
Or was he like Lex Luthor's like son or something? I wasn't entirely sure.
I think he's supposed to be, because he in the end, he's the bald, right? He ends up losing his hair, right, and becoming bald. And they even had that tag in Justice League as well, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, where they brought him back a little bit. It's weird.
Yeah, either way, Jesse Eisenberg stars in Fleischman's in Trouble, where he is going through a divorce with, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, Claire Danes. Yeah. And it's just a nice little introspective study of what's it like to, be an adult living in the city, going through a divorce. I know it's like a weird pitch at the beginning of this nerdy podcast.
You're really bringing up the spirits, Mike, with everything you're watching this week.
My wife and I really enjoyed it. It was like funny, but also sweet. And I don't know, I'm getting to that age in my life where like just, all of these like little studies on what it is to be human are very interesting to me. So go watch Mad God, go watch Fleischman's in Trouble, and then Chris, please bring it back around to what we actually talk about here.
So last week we didn't talk about this, but the Bad Batch season 2 is now available, or at least the first 3 episodes are now available on Disney Plus to stream. So if you've had a chance to watch the first season, the second season, it doesn't pick up where it ends. It actually jumps forward in time, but like there's no like, here's a recap. So if you haven't watched it, you might want to go back and watch a recap. But it's really good to just jump back in. You've got the Bad Batch, so they're on a mission. They're actually revisiting, this is spoiler free, but like some pretty cool areas from the Clone Wars and like some other places. So you're going to see some familiar areas. But this season is starting to focus on the 3 episodes in of like 16 episode season, the replacement of clone troopers with stormtroopers, and why that's important. The first season briefly touched on it. And at the end of that season, they got rid of the cloning labs on Camino, so they can't make them anymore, the clones. And then this one is about, the phasing out and then the replacement. So I think that's a really cool area of Star Wars we've not really touched on, right, at all. And I think, if anything, the Clone Wars animated show has done is, shown us the importance of the clones and how they can all be different. And then the Bad Batch is obviously 5 clones that are deformed, but they had their own specialty abilities along the way. So it's also crazy to think almost every character other than like Omega, who's the younger character, and like the people giving out the bounties for them to go do, is literally just one guy doing every clone voice, even if they look different and sound different. It's just they use the same voice actor. Is it Bradley something D. Bradley? I forget his name, but he does all the clone voices. He does a great job. So I think if and again, obviously they're always improving the look and style of the animation, right? As we talked about, if you go watch the Clone Wars episode 1, it's like kind of like pasted palettes on TV shows. Now like CG's become more efficient. They have all these models. They're just improving them all the time. It's just still a beautiful show to watch. So I'd highly recommend it for anyone who likes Star Wars, or if you want to wait and watch and binge them later. Totally understand. They're just 22-minute bite-sized episodes on Disney Plus, but we definitely look forward to every Wednesday here to catch up with this rowdy crew of clone troopers, those silly guys. What are they up to this week? But anyway, let's jump into these, because we've not really talked about this at all week, and this dropped Monday night for us, and that is the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer. We had a teaser before. This is, I guess, the full trailer. And we are, what is the date today, Mike? Is it the 15th? We are a month away on tomorrow from when this movie debuts. And we got this trailer. So this trailer really showcases, to me, the trippiness of the Quantum verse, and a lot more Kang than we've seen before. in the previous teaser.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like story-wise we've learned a whole lot more. And sometimes I forget of what I've picked up from that Comic-Con kind of leaked trailer that I saw a while ago that was almost like primarily audio only since it was such a steep angle.
What an angle that was.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like almost this trailer got us a little bit closer to that original leaked trailer as well. So all we really know is Kang needs Scott to go steal something for him. Kang is promising him everything that he's lost. So I suppose we do get a little bit of motivation of what he's trying to do, and that's, I guess, regain the time he's lost with his daughter since he was trapped, in a different realm. And I could obviously see that motivating. I mean, we've already seen what Wanda would do just to get her kids back, so I could see, a parent trying to go back in time and trying to get these lost years back,
And the other thing with this was it shows there's a scene with his daughter. Looks like she's coming out of a jail cell, so maybe she's been behind bars for something because he came from. We opened the first Ant-Man movie with him getting out of jail, so maybe there's some extra stuff in there.
Yeah, it almost made me think of like Back to the Future 2, right? We got to go to the future to save your kids. They're bad seeds. Somebody didn't raise them right. We got to go fix all of this. So like maybe that, and I could almost even see this as the type of movie where you even make that very specific reference. And then there's also a line at the end of the trailer that's where he says, "Oh, I don't have to win. We both just need to lose or something, lose like that." Yeah. And it did make me at least reflect on the idea of like, oh, this is actually our third Ant-Man movie. So this is technically, this is a trilogy. I don't expect Paul Rudd or Ant-Man to canonically die or whatever, but, there's a chance that maybe he could retire a little bit and hand off the mantle to his daughter, since we already know she's getting a suit. But yeah, I think the biggest takeaway here, right? This is like the big headline grabbing, screenshot taking moment.
Oh my gosh! Let me guess. Can I predict this? Is it MODOK?
Yes,
it's MODOK. The biggest headed man in the world.
I'm the fool that didn't even catch it the first time around. Yeah. I saw that they did have that big kind of splash moment of
with the metal
in his suit, and I was like, "Great, that's cool. It still looks good." I'm still 100% under the impression that is just a helmet, and on the internet it just goes crazy like they always do. Yep. Then it took like 1 or 2 days of news cycle for me to like see a tweet or something that's just like, "Oh, isn't it crazy how big his head is?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" Yeah. So I had to go back through the trailer. I was like, "Oh shit, he's just right there in the background." Big old fleshy human head.
I've got a pretty good theory based on that image I saw on who that character is playing it, and I don't know if you want to know it or not. I don't have to say it, but I mean,
you were already saying previously on the podcast that you thought it was the actor that played Yellow Jacket.
It looks just like Corey. Is it Corey Stoll, the actor? Like, right? He's bald in that. It looks like his head just wider is what it looks like to me. I have no proof to back this up, but it looks like him. Like, wouldn't it be just that much funnier if he didn't die, he just shrunk down, like when Scott shrank him, like he kept a big head and all those limbs just shrunk up. Like the worst karma for like a villain is like your tech went against you.
Yeah, I suppose that's a possibility. I think I like the origin more last depicted in the Avengers video game.
Yeah, George Tarleton.
Kind of like, which I think is kind of more of a traditional origin for the character, right? Or has MODOK always been like more of an interdimensional space being?
Not. He's been more Hydra, so he's more science based than anything.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, so I kind of more like it like, oh, the hubris of his like science and progress kind of messes it up more than just like a one-off joke of like, ha ha ha, I shrunk all your body except for your head. But I did see some criticism out there online, which led me to looking up that they showed his face of just like, it looks dumb, it's just a big head. And I was like, yeah,
that's MODOK.
That's what he's supposed to look like. He looks freaky and weird in his big head.
He had an animated show with Patton Oswalt. That's exactly what he looked like. He's just a big head in a suit and in all the games. It's funny that he is literally like, permeating all the big touch points for Marvel right now, video games, TV, and movies. So it's crazy to see him in there when he's obviously not the big part. The big part is Kang, but I'm starting to think maybe this isn't Kang proper in this movie, right? Because we know there's an Avengers Kang dynasty, right? So if the line from the trailer is, I don't have to win, we both just have to lose, but he's getting a Kang dynasty later, is this that Kang? or is it a version of this one, right? Like kind of thing is what I'm starting to think now.
Well, I think I don't know if it's text that pops up in the trailer or what exactly, or if it's like marketing like taglines, but it says like the beginning of a dynasty or something like that in the trailer.
I think
so, yeah.
I think maybe what's her name, the mom said it. I think so anyway,
we do know that there's possibilities of multiples, so who knows. Kang is very powerful. Can slip away from danger pretty easily.
It's really cool. We get to see his blue mask on, right? There's a shot with him with the full blue mask, and that comes off. He's shooting blue beams out of his hand, really angry later. I think it was kind of brutal seeing him like literally curb stomp Ant-Man's helmet from like a first person view as well. I'm like, this isn't your your grandpappy's Ant-Man here. This is a different Ant-Man than the other three movies. Like, I feel there's actually stakes involved, right? There's things going on. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We can evolve. We can have. I was joking with the listener to the show, Patrick, and we were talking about. I'm like, oh, this is why. And I sent him the. This is why this is cool. And sent him the Wikipedia article, the story arc, right, or character arc that I sent to you later that day. But I think it definitely does not feel as, I guess, inconsequential, as lighthearted as the previous two movies, right? Because if you told me, oh yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I'm like, I forgot that movie existed until I just said it out loud.
It is a bit unfortunate, right?
Yeah, so it feels like this is gonna be something, and it's the first movie of Phase 5, which is cool. The other thing with that is I included in our show notes here. It's Empire Magazine is doing a spotlight of the movie, and we get a picture of Jonathan Majors in his Kang attire, sitting in a very regal-looking chair here, with his green and purple suit on, his classic Kang colors, Mike, if you will. And I think it looks cool as hell. I think that's fun. This is a good outfit. Marvel never does wrong in their costumes, I feel, right? So this is really cool to see them go full in on a Kang suit. For this, because my first real introduction to Kang is in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, right? He has several episodes in that show where he's there, so I think that's pretty neat to take a look at. Right before the show, Mike and I was trying to find the trailer link, which is in the article. We saw that times for the movie are starting to be posted online for dropping February 16th, that Thursday, also February 17th. You cannot buy them yet, but we feel, Mike, I believe you used the phrase, ticket sales are impending. So I feel like tomorrow morning I'm going to be able to just jump on there and buy them at like 9 o'clock. And
yeah, you could be listening to this right now and be able to buy tickets. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So February 17th, coming out less a month away from, I guess, the 16th if you go to the Thursday showing. So a month from tomorrow, we are going to be talking about that. So awesome. On the flip side of that, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is starting to hit digital on February 1st, which I believe we corrected last week, right? Coming to Disney Plus. So it's also digital purchase February 1st, but the physical copy is coming February 7th. And the only reason I bring this up is, Mike, I buy the steelbooks. I'm a steelbook buyer. Best Buy is offering two versions, a Wakanda version and a Talokan version here. So
how do you pick, Chris? How do you pick?
Have you taken a look at these yet? These two images? You can know which one I want to pick. One of them is very uninspired, and the other one is very artistic. So I feel like the Black Panther, the Wakanda one, it's got your main characters. Sure, he's blue. It's really cool, but the inside is just the Dora Milaje jumping into the ocean, but like it's not even like a full shot of them jumping. It's kind of cropped. It looks weird. Where the Talokan is, the front is very colorful. It leans into that South American heritage a little bit, the full arts, the designs, Namor and his headdress, and the inside is the winged serpent depiction as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you could only have one, it makes the most sense to get that one, since it was the most unique thing about that film. So
yeah, absolutely. And I was talking to someone, I'm like, the thing is, the most I'm ever going to see this is probably the spine of the book, right? It's what you see on your shelf. So they're both actually, from a spinal point of view, not too bad to look at. So so those are pre-orderable on Best Buy if you're also a steelbook buyer as well. So the next probably 90% of the show, Mike, is going to be I would say maybe not leaks, rumors, confirmed, tidbits of information. I don't know how we're going to take them. Things can always change, but a lot of this was kind of dropped on Monday. And I think I told you, I'm like, I have a whole page of notes and it's not even Tuesday. So we're going to go through this, we can spitball it here, there, sort out the rumors, what we think is true, what we want to see, and kind of go from there. So let's jump into the first, I think the biggest bit of news out of this, at least to me, I guess maybe the most substantial, I think, is Captain America New World Order, right? It's the first Sam Wilson-led Captain America movie. It'll supposedly be the first movie with Harrison Ford as General Thunderbolt Ross, and in this he will no longer be a general. He will actually have been elected President of the United States in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually surprising that it's taken us this long to get around to this kind of story point. I feel like this happens in both comic book universes at some point in time, right? Like some character eventually climbs up the ladder and becomes the president, whether it's like Lex Luthor or who was the I guess the president, wasn't it Red Skull in like Old Man Logan or something?
Yeah, he
like
took
that,
over.
right?
Captain America's been elected president in some books. It's all over the place.
Yeah, so it's about time. And then, if this is supposed to be, slightly more of a grounded film, where, Sam Wilson is still kind of tethered to the U.S. military in a way.
Yep.
Like there'll be a dynamic there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've only seen the president once, right, in Iron Man 3 for like a brief second when Rhodey was like his like guardian or whatever. They put him in a suit at the end. So this is I think a better way to introduce that climbing up the military, and it also makes sense why they would also we can't bring back William Hurt, so we've got a bigger named actor, which is great. We couldn't replace it with anybody less, but also Harrison Ford coming to play the president again totally makes sense. Like I feel like that's how you get him in here.
As we all know, if you want to see how well the Harrison Ford plays the president, go watch an amazing film called Air Force
One. Yep.
Which, if you have not seen, is great. I have fond memories of that
movie. I think it holds up. Also, concept art that we've not seen, but people have seen, shows the Red Hulk in a suit. So we know that the General Ross in the comic books becomes the Red Hulk at some point, so they could definitely do that in the shows. Not saying it is, but this Red Hulk is in a suit. Have you ever heard of the comics character Joe Fixit, Mike?
That's the like kind of classic gangster Hulk, right?
Yes, that's the one where he goes to Vegas and becomes like a mob, or not a mob boss, but like a bouncer kind of thing. So yeah. So apparently they're doing that with the Red Hulk. It could be maybe his presidential attire, and maybe this Red Hulk retains his intelligence, kind of like the Smart Hulk does as well. So it would make sense if maybe he gets a suit that grows with him as well along the way.
Who knows? Maybe Red Hulk is a totally different person. Yeah. It's not even
Harrison Ford. Ross. Yeah, exactly.
Or President Ross or Ford, whatever you want to
say. Yeah, exactly. But also this will feature the return, even though we've seen them frequently, I guess maybe a prominent return of the DoD, Department of Damage Control. They were in Miss Marvel quite a bit. She-Hulk. Those are the two things I think we've seen them in the most, right? Maybe was it Spider-Man, I believe. No Way Home, they were at the beginning of that too. Were
they in She-Hulk? Were they just in the second to last episode where they kind of like arrest her?
No, they're also in the first where that's where they're holding the Abomination, is the Department of Damage Control.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's right.
Yeah, so they were in it quite a bit for I guess beginning and end, right? So. Yeah, so it sounds like they are in charge of super-powered people and their, I guess, punishments or, I guess, whatever they have to do to keep them from being powered or hurting people. So, I think that makes sense, right? This all sounds like literally Shield 2.0, if you will, along the way. So, if you can't have Shield, you're going to use the DODC. So, I think this sounds cool. I think a Red Hulk. Again, the military side of this, I think this is going to be a pretty cool movie along the way, and I think it could possibly set up another Captain America like trilogy, right? Like with Sam Wilson. I don't think we'd want to watch another show with him, if you will, but like we could definitely watch a couple movies.
Yeah, it's starting to shape up. If the Marvel Cinematic Universe plans to just continue as is, right? Just canonically, there's no sort of like big multiversal shakeups that resets things. I know that there is going to be a multiversal like Secret Wars, right? But if they try to continue at least this narrative, I could see Sam Wilson eventually retiring as Captain America, and then they bring in like a new Cap that kind of is more of a in the traditional sense of like no wings and a shield, only because that happens in the comic books all the time. You always got to eventually reset status quo. So I could see that happening after, Sam, maybe he goes through the trials and tribulations of what it means to wear the suit and then decides he ultimately doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got, how long was Chris Evans? Maybe 9 years, 10 years, right? So, yeah, I think they've got some time to do that, but also I think he's not been in as many properties, so they could probably take a little longer if they wanted to. But yeah, like the actors eventually I don't want to do this anymore. It's hard to keep up being in shape all the time, and they could pass it off canonically. But we'll keep you posted if any of that comes true. It sounds pretty awesome. Moving on, this will spin off into somewhere down the road a World War Hulk movie. They say that is in the works that we've not been announced yet. So
it was nice seeing this again, right? Because the last time we talked about this, we were putting our fake lawyer caps on, right? And we're trying to figure out, what are the rights situation here? The Universal, we heard it might be expiring, and we hadn't really heard anything since. So this could be a good reinforcement that hopefully that's still happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone did ask us when we last talked about that. They're like, "Oh, couldn't Marvel announce a movie and make it and just not release it until the contract's up?" I'm like, "Well, that's not really how contracts work in the film industry.
Well,
if you make an announcement, an intent, like you can't they just withheld they could withheld it from us."
I could see it being one of those things where it's like theoretically, they might be able to do it, but at the same time, it's like, does Disney, Marvel, do they hate Universal, right? Would it just be better to like play along possibly?
Or it's, are there storylines not lined up yet in time? And like, hey, maybe the Universal thing's done this year, but we don't want to do World War Hulk for another 5 years because we got to move all our pieces onto the board to make this line up. Because really, if Captain America New World Order introduces a Red Hulk, we have Banner / Smart Hulk, we have a She-Hulk, we now have Scar, and I only flag Sentry in here because he's a very important part of this movie. And anytime I can write the Sentry in my notes, Mike, I'm going to do this. So in the storyline, the only person who defeats the Hulk is literally the Sentry. They punch each other until they both revert to their normal unpowered forms, and they both pass out. So, I could see that. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be our Hulk, but possibly. But we also saw literally in She-Hulk, right? It is not much for Bruce Banner to literally just go back to Sakaar, right? Like he literally just got in the spaceship and went over there in the middle of that show. So, post Infinity War Endgame, space travel is a little more commonplace. It seems like, and a little more accessible for everybody. The other big part of this report was Liv Tyler is in talks to return as Betty Ross, which would be like the only person from that movie returning, because Edward Norton was recast again. William Hurt has passed on, and no, Tim Blake Nelson. Tim Blake Nelson is coming back as the leader, right, in New World Order. So yeah, there's some opportunity here to have a quote unquote Incredible Hulk reunion. 20 years later.
Wouldn't it be really funny if they brought Edward Norton back in to play like a totally different character? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe.
No, Secret Wars.
They should bring Edward Norton into one of these movies just to play himself. Yeah. Right? He's just like getting coffee and he's just like, I remember when I made it. Oh, and that would be funny. He canonically in the MCU would be an actor that has portrayed the Hulk because I mean, if you think about it, within the MCU, that version of Hollywood is definitely making movies based on these characters. That would be funny if Edward Norton had played the Hulk at some point in time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if he puts aside his ego to do it or not. But I mean, honestly, that or worst case scenario, that would be one hell of a Secret Wars cameo that I would not expect. I just wouldn't expect to see it, right? Like that's like one of them. I'm just like, no, they'd never work out a deal. But
man, yeah. Oh, can you imagine just bringing all versions of the Hulk back? Bring Lou Ferrigno. Yep. Sorry, I don't remember the name of the other guy in Ang Lee's Hulk.
Oh, Eric Bana.
Yeah, bring them all back. Wouldn't that be insane?
Oh yeah, I mean that would be wild to see like 4 Hulks of various stature and like design. I really hope that no one's bringing the same CG model from Ang Lee's Hulk, but it'd be pretty funny to see it all over the place. But yeah, I agree. Like there's opportunities for that. You know, I don't think they have the opportunity with X-Men, but you know we've only had one Wolverine, so it's pretty sad. Yeah. But yeah, it's opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's what they should do in Secret Wars. Put it all out on the table. Get every single live-action version of the character that's ever existed. Put it all out there in the world, and then we can just move forward.
Yep.
Right? We don't have to worry about any cameos coming back or anything. We just almost like a clean slate. Bring this universe back to zero.
I'm going to be sitting there like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme the whole time. Like, I know him. I know him. But yeah, I think that would bring people who grew up watching the Hulk in the 70s or 80s, right? The Incredible Hulk, seeing Lou Ferrigno, not just being a cameo as like a bodyguard, but I think it'd be pretty cool.
Bring the Thor from Ferrigno's Hulk back. That'd be great.
Yeah. So yeah, huge opportunity here. But Liv Tyler would be great to bring back Betty Ross, right? I think got no qualms with her portrayal or her as an actress. Moving into the Thunderbolts, which these 2 movies seem to be, I guess all 3 of these movies are really tied up. So, actress Sadie Sink from Stranger Things is rumored to be eyed for the role of Songbird for this movie. Now, Songbird is not a character we've heard much about because she doesn't exist in the MCU yet. So, she was originally a Thunderbolts team member in the comic books, and she can produce supersonic screams, create constructs, and fly. So, kind of a little bit close to Black Canary, right? From the Arrow, but the constructs is about the only different part here.
Yeah, she's really hot in Hollywood right now. She's just coming off the Brendan Fraser movie,
The Whale.
The Whale. Obviously, Stranger Things. She was like the character in that last season, connected to the viral song, right? Mm-hmm. But the first thing that I think when I hear this is just give me an honest-to-God good reason why this character has supersonic powers, right? Yep. When I'm watching something like, Green Arrow or The Flash and, they're introducing a new character from the comic books, I don't really care why or how they have their powers, right? It's just a CW, just let's just get into the action and get this 45 minutes, going of an episode. But in the MCU, I swear to God, Chris, don't give me another Man Bull. I was a lab experiment. Mm-hmm. I need a little bit more teeth on it, or I'm going to be pissed. So it's the only thing I'm looking out for.
Songbird was a big character in the Civil War comic books. I remember this mostly from the video. She was in the video game Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. She's got bright pink hair and white hair, and I believe that came from in that one it was Baron Zemo, who was like trying to create more super quote villains along the way. But the character was always like she had like a troubled history. Like her father was an alcoholic, and I think her mother was in prison or something. So like that lines up with like how Sadie Sink portrayed her character in Stranger Things quite a bit. I'm like, maybe they're just looking at the history before they do this in here. And maybe she doesn't have powers. It could go either way, but adding a typical Thunderbolts member to this, newer than the other ones that we've seen on there, wouldn't be out of anything. The other bit of news is that this will also include the Hood, who will make his debut in the Ironheart series in this movie, along with the Sentry, because I wanted to write the Sentry again, but that was confirmed that he would be quote unquote the villain for this.
More and more roads point to the Sentry.
I am so excited, my gosh! He is also in the Doctor Strange comic books hitting the shelves right now. And I'm using him in my game Marvel Snap. So like everything is coming up Sentry for me this year. And last time I was this excited, we got that Black Bolt Inhumans TV series. So let me tell you the disappointment I felt there. It probably can't get worse. It probably could not get worse than that. So.
Yeah, there you go.
But Thunderbolts, I'd like to know more about this movie. Right we have a lot of movies coming that we don't know a lot about. New World Order, Thunderbolts seem to be very I guess politically based with those teams, so we'll hopefully find out more as the convention center convention circuit started to heat up this year. Moving on, Echo, we're gonna talk MCU shows real fast, a couple of them here. Bad news, or I guess like just more confirmed news. Echo is rumored to be delayed to a 2024 launch instead of making the 2023 window. It's filming right now. Some people think, does this mean it's in trouble? Some people are like, well, it's just going to line up to Daredevil better. That way we're not waiting in between Echo and like a year to Daredevil. Like they can just keep going, bouncing off each other quicker. Which, to me, I think is a better feel, right? Whenever we want to watch these shows, if they're all connected. Because, like, the wait, like, right now, we're going between, She-Hulk and, Secret Invasion. And I'm like, I don't even know what Secret Invasion tied into to begin with. Like, how far back do we have to go to that? Captain Marvel? So, yeah, so that'd be cool to do that. The other thing is the Agatha Coven of Chaos. I think we have maybe a release window when they announced it, but it's rumored to release after Daredevil Born Again. So possibly 2025 for that show.
All right. I mean, those two shows, whether you're fans of the characters or not, I would say they're relatively low priority, I would think, for maybe the Disney Plus strategy overall. I mean, they're new characters for the most part for most of the viewers out there. So, yeah, I think unfortunately or fortunately, Daredevil's probably going to take precedent. Other shows are going to take precedent.
Yeah, Echo, I think, introduces the Daredevil. Like, I think it ties into it. So, like I said, closer to that. Agatha, I did read an article. They're writing new songs, original songs for this one. So this means some musical. I don't know anything about this, but this one seems to be the most interesting spinoff that I didn't expect we'd get. For a character who was, I guess, became a fan favorite after the show was over. So I don't know what it's going to offer yet, but yeah, you're right. Like, it's kind of just like, yeah, if it takes a little bit longer to put it out, no one's going to be losing sleep over that along the way. Also, real quick, what if season 2 is possibly releasing in 2024? I would not think they would need this long to do that. Because they already had one episode from season 1 that didn't release, so that's...
I mean, maybe it'll be more of a fuller season, right? Maybe it'll just be more episodes in season 2, or maybe the episodes will be longer, but animation always takes longer to make, so...
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe they're getting some more audio recorded. Maybe they're able to find somebody to bring in the actual actors instead of like just voice actors, or I guess voice imitations. But hopefully, What If Season 2 is a lot more memorable than Season 1 at the end of the day. This one's an interesting bit of news, an unannounced show for Disney Plus. It's called Strange Academy, or similar to Strange Academy. This is a comic series where Doctor Strange is like teaching people how to, or I guess younger kids, how to use their magic. And, it's more, like I said, literally like an X-Men school, but for mystical people, right, at the end of this. So this literally sounds like the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, right? Like, we saw the school, America Chavez was there, like, learning how to use magic. This one's supposed to be Wong-led, so I think everybody wants that Wong show, so here you go.
What was the woman from She-Hulk that was rooming with him?
Oh, I called them Wongers. Yeah, I forget her name already, but yeah,
it was like, I don't remember what it, but it was like something like Tiffany, but the eye's not weird.
Oh,
it's not Tiffany, but
is
it was something like that.
Is it Madison?
Maybe that was it. But yeah, if we could get more of her, she was pretty funny. But I don't know if she's a little bit too humorous. I don't know if that should fit within like a magically Doctor Strange like Academy, but maybe she's just in the opening scene and they're getting her in a cab and she's going to the airport.
I mean, well, she was using the magic portals to get around, so I could totally see like maybe a post-credit scene once or twice. With them, what were they watching? Sopranos or something like that. But yeah, so anyway, training for magic users, going back to Kamartaj. If this is like supposed to be like an America Chavez led thing rather than giving our movie a show, and there's more magic users, I could see this leading into the Young Avengers, which is going to bring us into our next point. Vision Quest is rumored to introduce Viv, the Vision's daughter from the comic books. So she's Viv Vision. She's a young, she's an artificial intelligence, green hair, very, I think, pink skin, very robotic looking for this show. She was a highly popular character in the Vision's one of his more recent solo comic series as well.
I think she might be because I had to look her up because I was like, what does this character look like? I think technically a little bit more greened skin, if you will, but definitely android looking
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I pulled. It's pink skin and a green suit. She's wearing a green suit with her green hair. But
If you're a robot, isn't it all suit or is it
I
all
guess
skin?
I don't know. It depends. Are you like a Terminator? Because that's skin.
Is this like a ship of Theseus
Yeah,
conversation?
it probably is. But anyway, if you look up Viv Vision, you're gonna find her. She's very much looks like a young Vision, like bright green hair, no pupils, yellow eyes, yellow diamonds. So this is from an artificial family the Vision made himself in the comic book. So if Vision Quest is going to kind of go along with him, bringing about, with Wanda gone a new family, if you will, it could definitely be her. But Young Avengers, I think, is going to be the like a through line. I feel like we're gonna get, like, we keep seeing those articles. Maybe they're listening to that, like, hey, we got to get there eventually. We're gonna get there eventually. And this is how we introduce some of these characters. Speaking of Young Avengers, another big part of that is going to be Miss Marvel, and the rumor is that she's going to get a season 2 before Avengers: Secret Wars, which is coming up.
I would think so. I mean, there's definitely enough time to get a season 2 in there. If they're kind of setting this cadence of a season 2 happens maybe every other year, even though a lot of these Marvel shows don't seem to be like traditional season orders. We're getting Loki season 2, with a year gap. So yeah, I could see Miss Marvel happening.
Yes,
maybe not next year, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's next year. But we know she's showing up in the Marvels coming out this summer in June. So definitely have some of that July coming up as well.
If that's the next kind of Marvel movie on our docket, right? There's a chance that we could have a little bit of a teaser trailer for that. So, I mean, before Ant-Man, you'd think that they'd want the next Marvel trailer ready before you see the next Marvel movie.
It's funny you mention that, because I believe the Super Bowl is the same weekend as Ant-Man.
I think it would be the weekend before, wouldn't it?
The 12th. It's the 12th. It is the 12th this year. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a good place to put it.
Yeah, because it's actually funny enough. That's the last Marvel movie of the year. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp in February, Guardians 3 in May, and then the Marvels in July. So I would 100% see Marvel going all in. Right, we're going to get a trailer for Guardians and the Marvels at the Super Bowl. I would not be surprised if they actually throw in maybe some of their others, maybe an official launch date or for Secret Invasion in there as well. So absolutely 100%. The other big news tied to that is the other show this year was Moon Knight, and it will have a season 2 before Secret Wars as well.
All right.
I had to look it up. I have the upcoming releases page on Superhero Slate. I need to remove 2022 or move it down. But we have till 2026, Mike. We have 3 full years to get these shows out. Maybe closer to 3.5. So I 100% can see them doing Moon Knight pretty quickly.
It's more interesting to think that Bob Iger is not going to make it past Secret Wars.
Yeah, you say that
his current contract.
I would 100% not be surprised if they, like, he's doing such a great job. Let's extend it again, because we can't find anybody to replace him. But yeah, absolutely. I'm really surprised they haven't announced season 2s yet, but I know they're probably looking at their schedule and looking at, like, hey, we don't want to overcrowd everything for the next couple of years. On top of Young Avengers, one of the main players is the younger version of Nova, played by Sam Alexander. So there's a rumored movie for Nova now. It's not a special presentation, not like Werewolf by Night, but an actual movie to be in the works, and it will introduce both Richard Rider, the adult Nova that we know from the comic books, and Sam Alexander, who is the newer version who's in the Young Avengers as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can use this as a moment, since we kind of wrapped up all of the possible Young Avengers updates of what does this Young Avengers roster look like. I mean, I made the image for the podcast this week, so you can kind of see there the most obvious ones, right? I'm not saying that there couldn't be some wild cards in there, right? But right now we have Miss Marvel. We have I almost said Kate Blanchett, but no, Kate
Bishop, yeah, Hawkeye, yeah.
We have the 2 that we've rumored here, which would be possibly a young Nova, and we could have Vision's daughter. And then the one that's kind of been floating out there for a while are the Wanda's kids, right?
Yes.
We've seen them super powered. By the time that a Young Avengers would come out, they would be probably like close to teenage age, right? You know, they could kind of fit in with the crew right there. I think the last time we talked about Young Avengers in earnest, there was like, oh, what's the possibility of if a Peter Parker, you know, could be involved in any way? But after his last movie, I would say, if anything, he has been catapulted into adulthood.
Yeah.
Right? You know, he is no longer like, he has gone through way too much shit to be considered like a child or a kid, right? So, you know, outside of those, I don't know what wild cards could be thrown in there, but that's kind of looking like the roster right now.
The only thing is here, because the Wanda's kids are Speed and Wiccan in the comic books. One is essentially Quicksilver and one is essentially Wanda again. The idea that Hulkling could be one of this, and Hulkling is actually not a Hulk. He's a very large green-skinned kid, but he is half Kree, half Skrull hybrid. You know, both of one from each side of his parents, but he is also the, I guess, boyfriend of Wiccan in the comic books. So, like, you know, when they were in the Young Avengers, so there's an opportunity if they don't do both Maximoff kids, right? Because technically half of these Avengers come from the Vision and Wanda. They could definitely include some space people as well. Yeah,
and maybe a Hulkling could be something that comes out of a Secret Invasion TV show, right? That would be the most logical place to set it up. But I more think, like, once the roster is set, like, what's the story, right? Why do Young Avengers just need to be assembled in general, right? You know, if you look at, like, Young Justice, right, on the side of DC, usually they're called up when there's some sort of, like, big thing that happens and the bigger heroes, like, are incapacitated, you know? Yeah.
Well, so you actually made me think, instead of maybe Hulk, we now have Scar, right, at the end of She-Hulk. So maybe it's Scar instead of Hulkling.
Yeah, maybe. He was looking pretty, I mean, I don't know exactly how a, you know, half alien, half Hulk ages, right? Yeah. But he was looking pretty, like, not old, but like
he looked like 17.
He looked like he was getting ready to go off to college, right? Yeah. So I don't know exactly what the cutoff there is, but I know Kate Bishop, she's kind of in that range.
Yeah, Kate's in college. I believe Miss Marvel was, I guess, getting up there, but like, yeah, like I know that, like, from my experience with the Teen Titans, right, is what I'm thinking of rather than Young Justice. They were fighting Deathstroke, right? And I know that Teen Titans Go is a bad example of the Teen Titans, but that's all I can operate off of here. They were always fighting Deathstroke, so, you know, I think there could be a serious villain. I don't know who it would be, right? Because we also have not just the Young Avengers, but like the Thunderbolts. We're starting to see the formation of multiple teams in the MCU. The Young Avengers actually have more powers and abilities than the Thunderbolts do. So I think they could probably take on something a little more, I guess, powerful at the end of the day. But, right, like, you know, who is that and what does that look like? I agree. You know, the only thing, I guess Wiccan, he has magic, so I'm like, what gap, what area do they not have? But I guess they could make some villains, you know.
The gap that they don't have is that they're young teenagers that aren't going to make the right decisions.
Well, right. Yeah, well, I was trying to think, like, you know, if you have, like, everyone has, like, an area they cover, they specialize in, right? I'm like, who do we, what area do we not specialize in? That's the villain because we don't have someone in that area. But, like, but at the same time, like, you know, looking at the first Avengers movie, it was, you know, Thor's brother Loki was the villain, so like it could literally be somebody else. The only thing I can think of is, you know, with if it's Billy and Tommy Maximoff, they don't come from this dimension anymore, right? They were from another dimension. So is it a multi-dimensional threat? Along the way. So I don't know. It looks cool. I mean, it's a cool lineup. I'm glad we're getting there. So I'd be excited for that. And if you haven't played the game Midnight Suns lately, guess what? You're getting a movie as well. This is different than this is spelled differently. This is SONS. The one in the game is SUNS. So Midnight Suns in the comic books is literally your supernatural team, right? You have Blade, you have Man-Thing, you've got I think Moon Knight at some point. People who Werewolf by Night fight the night. So if they're starting to build towards that a little bit with, you know, Doctor Strange having horror aspects, Man-Thing, and I mean Werewolf by Night having some of that stuff, could totally see Midnight Suns becoming a movie down the road if they wanted to.
Yeah. And it better be an October release, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put this out in your Halloween. That'd be fun.
I want to see more of that Man-Thing burning people alive ability because
so cool.
That's so goddamn cool. Maybe this could be, Blade could lead into it down the road, but we don't really have no other further information. The only other further information, the other thing that we have with no further information is literally the Serpent Society. We last saw this originally teased as a Captain America 3 title at San Diego Comic-Con years ago. I don't know if you remember that, when they were like, here's our Phase 3 lineup, and it was like Captain America, Serpent Society, and then they came back, and they're like, just kidding, it's actually Civil War, because that's our biggest announcement. And everyone's like, oh, God. So no one really thought the Serpent Society was going to be something, but if they are going to do this kind of ties back to my question at the top. Is this a Sam Wilson-led movie? Because it's a Captain America, like, villain group, where they have, like, snake motifs going on along the way. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe this is like the title for the second Captain America, starring Sam Wilson. So building out his trilogy. Yeah.
Actually, I just looked this up. The Serpent Society first appeared in Captain America in 1985, and then the Serpent Solutions first appeared in Captain America Sam Wilson #1. So that's probably.
Is that just the most logical end of the trilogy? Well, what do we do about the Serpent Society? Well, what about Serpent Solutions? Okay, let's do it.
There's also Serpent. Apparently, it was Serpent Squad and then Serpent Solutions before it was the Serpent Society. Snakes love their S's, man. They just love it. Most of my experience from them comes from watching Earth's Mightiest Heroes. They were villains quite a bit there with their snake thing. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if that's the next Captain America movie at the end of the day. Were you able to watch the new Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur teaser trailer with I guess it's a full trailer with the release date for Disney Channel and Disney Plus?
I don't know if I've seen the specific trailer, but not long ago, probably maybe just a week before this, they had like a clip that they released where she was fighting. I don't remember who the villain was, but it was kind of cool because they got a Childish Gambino song playing
in
the background, which is crazy. And it was, if you're not familiar, it's the song Sweatpants, which is a really good song. I love that song. So obviously they remove any sort of the swear words from it. But they kind of are animating the sequence to the beat of the song and what's happening in it. So like, man, this goes like way harder than I thought this show was going to go. And then obviously the visuals of it look great. I love the way that it looks in general. So yeah, if you got like a kid at the right age for this, like I think this would be a good if you've watched enough Bluey, right?
Yeah.
I know that show's really hot. This might be a good thing to put in the rotation.
Yeah, I would say this is maybe post Bluey a little bit. I think there's some deeper stuff here. You have a big dinosaur, right? Devil Dinosaur. So Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. To me, it's the Mickey Mouse and Friends arts. Have you watched the new Mickey Mouse shorts, like the ones that are like 5 minutes long?
That flat 2D art style.
Yeah, but it's still very kinetic, right? There's a lot to it, a lot of motion. They can do a lot of things you can tell. The Mickey Mouse Runaway Railroad ride is based on this art style. But this to me, this trailer was actually pretty cool to kind of see how the start and like Luna, I forget her last name, Lafayette and her friend, they're keeping her identity secret because she's one of the smartest people, and she gets a dinosaur through a portal. But it's debuting on Disney Channel February 10th and on Disney Plus on February 15th. So this is literally made for Disney Channel, and then just happened to get on streaming a couple days later. So I'm excited to kind of watch this because I think it looks cool. We don't get a lot of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I know Lawrence Fishburne is voicing a villain, a main character villain. He's billed up there pretty high in this. So, and if they're using again Childish Gambino songs in this, it sounds like they're pulling out all the stops to make it fit both kids and adults along the way.
I'm sure that song wasn't cheap to license either. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, he's hard up for money. He's got to be if he's doing the that one Sony movie where he
the
Hypno Hustler.
I keep thinking it's like the Disco Stew, like from The Simpsons, the Disco Stew movie.
Yeah, it's a Hypno Hustler. All right, that's all our Marvel stuff for today. We're coming up on an hour here. We're going to shift gears real fast into The Mandalorian, our next Star Wars project we get to watch. Now that Bad Batch is in motion, we are all anxiously awaiting the return of The Mandalorian Season 3. It's been almost, a year and a half since we got him? I mean, I'm not counting Boba Fett. That's like a 2.5. But A trailer will be on the upcoming tomorrow, literally Monday, January 16th, football playoffs, the wild card playoffs tomorrow. So by next week, we'll be talking about a new Mandalorian trailer on the show.
All right.
The rumor mill is also grinding out that season 3 could see the introduction or reintroduction, if you will, of the Praetorian Guards. Those are the red-suited guards from the Last Jedi duel with Rey and Kylo fighting them together in the Emperor's Throne Room. So they were pretty cool. They didn't really get a lot of screen time, but they were pretty cool looking overall.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be the origin of how they came to be. Like, maybe they're this elite squad that was put together specifically to take down Mando, because we know that those big, like, Darth Vader robots, well, I guess he didn't really stop him. That was, like, Luke that came in and stopped those.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe those are really expensive, and they don't have enough money to build more of them. So, like, we got to put people in suits again.
Yeah, that's right. We got to give them some lightsaber deflecting weapons, because those robots were not able to stop the lightsaber through and through. The other thing is that Moff Gideon will be in his own armored suit and will be Darth Maul inspired, supposedly red and black, as he tries to get the Darksaber back again. So
you know what I want to see? You know what character I love the most from the prequel, just because of the sound design of the weapon, were those weird robots with, like, the staffs, like the taser staffs.
Yep.
I love the noises. Like, it's such a good sound design on that weapon. Like, I can't not think of them when I think of that noise. And I think they could build those into the Mandalorian. You know, they haven't been. I mean, they've been dead for a little while, but I mean, it's just technology, right? You can just reboot it.
The robots, right? We had new robots. The Death Troopers were robots, kind of thing. So,
well, I guess maybe they could pop up in Andor theoretically, or Obi-Wan, since that's a little closer timeline wise.
Yes, they are also in the Jedi game, the Fallen Order game. Like, you come across them because the Empire is using them, for situations. So yes, absolutely could see them be utilized across the board for stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to see the suit. I could see them definitely pulling that off. And lastly, Mike, I know we're all anticipating the return of the Fast and Furious franchise with Fast X, Fast 10 your seatbelts, if you will. And we are going to get a trailer before the Super Bowl and then a teaser during it. So I don't know what their game plan is here, but whatever. If you're into this, and this should be the last one or last two.
I don't know jack about Fast and the Furious, but didn't they say that? Are they splitting this into 2 parts?
I think there's an 11, yeah.
Okay, but it's probably like Fast 10 Part 2 or something.
I don't think they filmed the second one yet. This one just has Brie Larson and Jason Momoa in it.
You know what? They need to just update the ride at Universal Studios Hollywood. There's a hilarious fast ride that's added to the studio tour that's now very out of date, and there's like a hilarious small helicopter and or large Vin Diesel that's holding on to it. It's very funny. So maybe they can use this as an excuse to update it.
Yeah, you gotta get all 11 movies in one ride, Mike. Just blow through them. So yeah, Super Bowl trailers are probably going to start hitting our news radar over the next couple of weeks. So we'll keep you guys posted on what that looks like. All right, Mike. Well, that's the show for today. If people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, buddy?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if you want to catch up with you, where can they find you? You
can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN. I think I'm also still on Twitter. I don't know if I use it very often, but I'm still there. But if people want to know about the show, where we can find that upcoming release page that I've been referring to all day, where can they find all them goodies at?
Oh, all you got to do is head on over to superheroslate.com and make sure you're subscribed, because we're actually talking about a lot of really cool stuff next week. And one thing I even forgot to tell you about, Chris, is I get to go into the new Super Mario Nintendo.
Oh, really? Nice.
A few weeks early next week. So actually, I think we're going on a Sunday, the day we usually record the podcast.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'll be fresh out of the park, and we'll talk about that on the podcast. Obviously, tonight when we're recording this, The Last of Us premieres on HBO. They're putting tons of marketing dollars behind that, because I cannot avoid that every single time I scroll. And then, we'll talk about, possible trailers maybe that'll be
Mandalorian trailer for sure. So.
Yes, exactly. So stay subscribed, superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. All the time we do. Please reach out.
Yes.
Let us know what you think of the show. Go on over to podcast app, insert title here, and review us. I don't even know how that works anymore, but reviews are always great for the podcast. We love that. And we love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of the show, it's so easy to get that on your driver's license. It's right underneath need glasses. Mm-hmm. So
it's one step
super fan.
It's one step above what are those new ID, the real IDs? If you have a real ID, then you have a super fan IDs even above that.
No, scrape all that. Actually, if you become a Superhero Slate super fan, you'll get that chauffeur license. You'll be able to drive people around and heavy machinery too. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's true. So if you want to be a super fan, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right, and we are not giving out CDLs. That's something different, but we will catch you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.